Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Are you able to hear me and see my screen? You may let me know using the YouTube live chat feature. Okay, let's begin. Welcome to my live market meeting, 2nd April 2020. I am Sagar Nandi. I used to work in information technology, mostly based in Singapore. Now I have retired and I am living in Thailand, swing trading stocks using the Q trading systems and techniques that I developed. You may watch these and other videos on my YouTube channel Trading Profitably and contact me using my email ID tradingprofitably@gmail.com. I regularly share stock analysis using live systems on my traders forum sagarnandi.com and also on my Twitter page Sagarnandi. All these resources are open to the public and you are most welcome to make use of them. Disclaimer: this demonstration is for educational purposes only. It is designed to share information on the trading systems and techniques I use. The information presented here should only be used by people who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Past performance is no guarantee of future return. I am not an investment advisor. This session is not for any recommendation of buying or selling stock or any other instrument. I will have no liability for any investment decision made by the audience. As usual, I will look at the market using the Q systems and also try to identify trading opportunities. I will use the technical trading systems Q Elite and Q Global. Q Elite runs on TradeStation, Q Global on MetaStock. For sector industry rotation analysis in real time, I will use Q Edge that runs on MetaStock Zenith. And for stock fundamental and peer analysis, I will use Q Vital, also running on MetaStock Zenith. For analyzing global indices, I will use Q Index, again running on MetaStock Zenith. That was the last slide of my presentation. I will now continue with the live system. Let me start with the global markets. Starting with the Australian market, I am using the default weekly daily at a glance template. Here I am using the weekly backdrop chart on the left hand side and the daily hop on chart, entry chart on the right hand side. Together I call this at a glance template because using this single template you can decide if there is a swing trade entry opportunity in only a few seconds. What are the signals on these charts? Let me mention some of the key signals. At the top, for both weekly and daily, we have the jump indicator. Sorry, that thrust indicator showing whether it is at an extreme low level or sometimes at extreme high level. That is the thrust indicator, how fast it is moving up or down. And the white histogram, that is the jump indicator, that is also showing extreme, but it is showing how far extreme it is at, either lower side or higher side. So the jump indicator is showing extreme and thrust is showing how fast it is reaching that extreme. Then I am having the OBV indicator also drawn as histogram. These three sets of indicators are same both on the weekly and daily charts, and rest of the indicators may be different. The weekly backdrop candle color is calculated differently than the daily flow candle colors or traffic light candle colors. In the weekly, magenta is bearish, cyan is bullish, and yellow is neutral. In the daily, there are 5 colors. Green is bullish, red is bearish, magenta is an optimal shorting point for trend following trade provided it is in a proper trend. Cyan is an optimal buy point for trend following trade provided it is in a proper uptrend. And yellow is neutral. So the daily is having 5 color schemes because other than being bullish, bearish, neutral, red, bullish, green, red, bearish, yellow, neutral, I am also using the flow colors, that is cyan, as the optimal long entry point for trend following long, and magenta is the optimal short entry point for trend following short. And then there are a number of band indicators. At the top, I am using the pressure and pressure U-turn. Green is bullish, red is bearish. Then the overbought, oversold indicator, that is the stretch indicator, red or magenta meaning it is oversold. And the release signal after oversold state is shown by this green dot. So here it was oversold and then the oversold condition was released. Again for 4 days this instrument, Australian market index, was oversold and then the oversold condition was released. After that, the band indicator pair is for price extreme indication and a reversal candle indication. So in the green and cyan area, AXJO was at price extreme high. Then when it started to go down, first the price extreme color changed to yellow and then changed to red and magenta. So it was at price extreme high in this area, became neutral in terms of price extreme and then became bearish. In the last few days it has turned yellow again. And this is the reversal candle indicator. The last band indicator is showing squeeze release in terms of technical analysis. There is another short squeeze in terms of fundamental data, but this is not that one. This is in terms of technical analysis. Red means it is inside a squeeze. Yellow means neutral, neither squeeze nor expanding. And if there is a green dot, it will show that the squeeze is being released. So I am using these same band indicators for both daily as well as weekly chart. Then there are some other indicators. The diamonds, if I am using Q Global or Metastock, the diamonds are the headwind possible reversal signals. In all my charts, magenta or red indicates bearish or on the higher side. So these are bearish headwind signals. And this is a bullish headwind signal. This is a bullish headwind signal. Bullish headwind signals come at the bottom. Bearish headwind signals come at the top. They are drawn as diamonds. And what are these circular dots? These are same as the stretch release indicator. So it was overbought in this area. The overbought is not drawn on the candle chart. When the overbought condition is released, this is the release band indicator, and to make it easier to read, I am also using it on the candle chart. The stretch release or overbought oversold condition release indicator, that is there in the daily chart also. Using all these indicators and the candle colors and applying the unambiguous checklists for the trade setups that are available from my forum sagarnandi.com. If you go to trade setup checklist, there are the 4 trade setups, and each of these setups, if we look at go with flow for trend following trade, it has a checklist. This checklist asks me to look for certain conditions, and the conditions are each read in an unambiguous manner. For example, this condition is saying flow should be bullish for a long trade. What kind of trade? Go with flow, trend following trend. Is it unambiguous? Let's look at the chart. Yes, flow has to be bullish, meaning it has to be cyan. Flow bearish means magenta. There is no ambiguity in reading that. That's why the checklists are unambiguous, therefore making each trade setup also unambiguous. There are 4 trade setups, and there is also a breakout trade setup for which there is no checklist. We don't need much of a checklist for breakout trade. For all these 5 trade setups that are standard in my queue systems, you can decide if there is a trade setup simply by looking at this weekly, daily at a glance template, and it takes only a few seconds. I will try to find some trade setups using live market also. So let's first look at the AXJO Australian market. Here, after displaying the bearish headwind, price dropped sharply. At that time, the backdrop color changed from cyan to magenta. At the bottom, it displayed an indecisive shape candle. Indecisive shape because the candle had long lower tail as well as long upper tail. And this week, as of Thursday's market close, the candle color has changed to neutral. From bearish, it changed to neutral yellow. This week's candle shape is so far indecisive. Why indecisive? Because it has hollow body that is bullish, but it has an upper tail that is bearish. Therefore, if we combine the upper tail and the body together, we conclude the shape is indecisive. In the daily chart, after displaying the bearish headwind, price fell little bit, tried to recover to the same watermark resistance line, displayed a bear release signal, and then price dropped sharply. At the bottom, it displayed 2 bullish headwind signals, and as one might expect, after that price recovered somewhat. If I apply the trade checklist, there is no trade setup at present. There is neither any short setup nor any long setup. So we may stand aside for now in the Australian market. Let's look at the Hong Kong market now, HSI. Similar pattern, price dropped and recovered little bit. Same is seen in the daily chart also. In the daily chart, price is still in a downtrend with lower high and lower low. Therefore, we are not going to buy anything now in Hang Seng Index, and there is no short trade setup as well. You can see today Hang Seng market closed higher with a bullish shape candle. Let's look at the India market. NSEI, that is the Nifty 50 index. This is not same as Hang Seng index. Here the price dropped today, Thursday. The daily candle color is neutral but shape is bearish, and the weekly color is remaining bearish. Because weekly is bearish, I am not looking for buying opportunity. Instead, if daily goes down, gives me a magenta color candle, that is the flow color, bearish magenta, then I may look for a shorting opportunity, either in Nifty 50 or in one of the stocks under Nifty 50. That is India market. Let's look at the UK market using the FTSE index. Similar pattern, isn't it? Weekly dropped a lot, then recovered somewhat. Daily dropped a lot, recovered somewhat. The trend is still in a downtrend, and today's traffic light candle color is bearish now. Yesterday's candle color was also bearish. So if you compare Hang Seng Index, there the daily traffic light color was red. Sorry, the Hang Seng Index had traffic light color green. India had yellow, and UK market is red. What about the USA market? For that, let me switch to trade station, that is Q Elite, and use the future symbols. S&P 500 E-mini futures ES. Here also there was a bearish headwind at the top, price dropped a lot. This week's candle color so far is yellow neutral, but the shape is very bearish. In the daily, price dropped sharply, went below the memory auto smart trend line supports, tried to recover. Yesterday closed below both the memory support lines. Today it is so far remaining below the memory support lines. In the previous market roundup, that is the weekend market roundup, I expressed my bearish view. Why? Because the weekly backdrop color of last week was still magenta. Because weekly was bearish, I was not looking for long trades. Instead, I was waiting for the daily candle to turn magenta. If that came, then I would have a go with flow trend following short setup in S&P 500. That has not happened so far. This week price is neither going up much nor going down much. Last 2 days it is moving down slightly, but still I don't have a magenta color candle. Therefore there is no go with flow short setup yet. Waiting for that if that comes. And the picture is similar for the other futures also. NQ, Nasdaq, E-mini futures. Here also the weekly backdrop was magenta. That's why I was not looking for long trades. The daily hasn't given me a magenta candle yet. So there is no short setup yet. No long opportunity because the weekly is magenta. Same in Dow futures, YM. Weekly was bearish magenta. That's why I was looking for only shorting opportunities. And once the data loads on the daily chart, I think we'll see the daily magenta candle hasn't come yet. It's taking time. If it is taking time, okay, it has drawn the chart now. Yes, no magenta color yet in daily, so we are still waiting for the short setup. And Russell 2000, from the Sonar Dashboard using radar here, you can see today Russell 2000 RTY futures is the only one that is negative, and negative a lot, minus 1.2%. I say lot because all the others are positive. S&P 500 is positive 0.64% up, NQ 0.42% up, Dow 0.29% up, but RTY is minus 1.27% down. So if I was going to short any of the futures or the ETFs, their equivalent ETFs, SPY, QQQ, DIA or IWM, the right instrument to choose for shorting will be IWM or RTY. Interestingly, if you look at the ETFs, ETFs are more bearish than the futures because SPY is barely positive now, turn negative as I am speaking. QQQ, DIA, IWM are already negative, and IWM is negative. This is quite a lot really, 1.8% negative, minus 1.8%. That's very negative. Let's look at IWM. This is not the future but the ETF. Here also the daily doesn't have a magenta candle yet, so I'm not going to take any short trade yet if I'm using the daily chart. Could I take a short trade? That is possible. I could take that using the fine tune, that is the intraday chart template. And unlike some other systems, Q systems use very different templates. You can see for the weekly chart, it looks different. The daily chart looks different. And when we look at the 10-minute chart or 5-minute chart, that is real-time chart, that chart also looks different because we use different indicators but for these three different intervals. If I was looking for short trade in IWM, how could I trade it today using real-time chart? Before that, let me come back to the weekly daily at a glance template and reinforce that because previous week's candle color in the weekly chart was bearish, this week's is also bearish, and for last 2 days the daily has turned bearish also in color. I was not going to look for a long trade from the real-time chart. I was going to look for only short trades. How could I take it? I could use 5 or 10-minute interval. In the morning session I use 5-minute interval. So let me first switch to 5-minute interval and I explain how the short could be taken. Today price opened at this blue pivot level. After that the early range high and the early range low pivot levels formed dynamically. Subsequently price went to the upside. There was a major news at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, major economic event. When that is the case, it is suggested using Q techniques to avoid taking any intraday trade until the event result is out. So after the event was passed around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, price went up. But I was not going to take any long trade. When price went up and hit another pivot resistance, this green pivot line, which was yesterday's high, and then it displayed a bear release signal, that was the time one could take a short trade, putting stop just above the pivot level. So this would be the risk distance. And when price came down from there, hit the next pivot level, you can say about the same as the risk distance was covered, and because it was hitting the pivot level, partial profit could be booked. And after that price has continued to go down, the stop was not hit, so one may continue to hold the remaining position. This is how you could use the intraday chart today, Q fine tune chart, to take a precise short entry using IWM. And again, why IWM? Because IWM was the weakest of the 4 market ETFs. Could you take this trade using futures? Let's look at the chart using the RTY, Russell 2000 futures. Let it draw the pivot levels. Okay. Here, these are the early range high and early range low. After the 10 a.m. event, I think here, this was the 10 a.m. event. Price went up. We were going to look for only short, so we wouldn't take any long trade. When the bear release signal came, price reversed from the green pivot resistance. One could take a short right at this point, putting stop above the green pivot level. One could book partial profit at this pivot level or maybe the next pivot level, and as price is continuing to go down, partial position could be held. No need to exit full position. We can see if it continues to go down. This is how you can use the fine-tune chart for intraday trading. However, the direction is decided beforehand based on the weekly daily charts, and then the precise entry is decided based on the intraday pivot support resistance levels, the stretch release signal, and you could keep an eye on the other indicators also. For example, when thrust and jump became oversold, that is at the upper extreme, you could start to look for a short trade. However, you would not short until the bear release signal came, and only if the release signal came from a proper pivot resistance, which would happen at this point. You could easily take an unambiguous short trade in the futures, Russell 2000 futures or the Russell 2000 ETF IWM in this manner. Let's look at the market stocks. I ran these scans just before I started the webinar using Q Global on Metastock, looking for long signals and short signals on daily interval. I ran it on S&P 1500 stocks. This was the result. Two number tables, and to make it more meaningful, I have already transferred it to Q Trade Finder tool, and let's look at the summary data. 181 symbols are giving bullish signals, 288 bearish. Total number of signals are 232 across these 181 symbols, bullish side and bearish side. Total number of bearish signals 342. So if we look at both of them together, as of now the market is more bearish. Then I can look at the individual signals. If I look at breakout, I can see for breakouts, bullish breakouts are in fact more. Trend following, go with flow setups are also more on the long side. Headwind also more on the long side. On the other hand, gaps are more on the short side. Touching memory resistance is more than touching memory support, and reversal candles are also more on the short side. That makes sense, the reversal candles, because the market also initially tried to go up then went down. That resulted in reversal candles, and this tends to mislead some traders to buy in the long direction, and they get stopped out easily. Q traders wouldn't take a trade in the long direction because we saw the backdrop candle color from previous week was bearish, so we were going to primarily look for short trades. Let's have a look at the stocks that gave the reversal candles today. I can go to the short tab, sort by the reversal column by double clicking on the column header. These are all the stocks that gave a reversal signal. Magenta, sorry, not magenta, yellow, orange color means the signal came today. Out of that, I see this stock, American PUB, APEI is the ticker symbol. It has multiple signals today. One is it has a gap down open, it has a bearish retracement, possible go with flow, trend following short setup, and also a reversal candle. It is down by more than 5%. Let's open the chart using Metastock, Q Global, and if I am on the chart option for power console, and let me close the existing charts. If I'm on the chart option on power console, this is Metastock's power console, then I can open the chart by clicking the chart icon on the Q Zenith tools. and I am using my default weekly daily at a glance template, and this is giving a nice go with flow short trade setup. And you can see how fast I can apply the checklist using this single template, weekly daily template. What did I say? Let me read out the signals, magnify a little bit. The weekly backdrop color is magenta. Previous week was also magenta. That is meeting the weekly checklist condition for a trend following short trade. In the daily, price made a lower high, came down, tried to go up, and now going down again gave me a magenta color candle that met the requirements for a go with flow trend following short trade. If you were watching the stock using Q fine tune chart, then you could take a short earlier. You didn't have to take now. If you didn't take earlier using real time chart, using daily chart, you may wait for market close. Just before market close, you can see if the signals are confirming and take the short. That is using the daily interval. And if you ran the scan in the morning session and found this stock, then you could switch to the fine tune chart template. Let's look at it. APEI, isn't it? APEI. Let's look at the chart using the fine tune chart template and see how we could short it. This is the early range high, early range low. Initially, price tried to go above early range high, but displayed a bear release signal and a very bearish shape, bearish color candle here. Price reversed from multiple pivot resistance levels, these two and also this one, and in fact closed below early range high also. So it tried to go above 4 pivot levels, but sharply reversed and closed below all of those. So you could take a shot right at this point and put stop above the day's high. As price has gone down, it has covered much more than the risk distance. So for intraday traders, one could book partial profit. And now using the at a glance template, it is looking like giving a trend following short trade setup. Therefore, if the daily candles remains like this, then you may continue to hold partial position overnight. There is a memory support line. So if you are holding partial position overnight, the logical next exit point will be at this memory trend line support. So technically you could identify this weak stock APEI and look for a short trade. It is giving a go with flow trend following short trade today. Let's check out the fundamentals for APEI. I can go back to the finder and click on the peer analysis icon here. That will take me to the Q Vital tool. It has displayed some basic information about the stock. It has positive EPS, earnings per share, no dividend. Next earnings on 5th May. It has retrieved all the PR stocks, total 24 PR stocks in educational services industry, and this is the snapshot, fundamental snapshot. What can I see from here? Valuation is good, it is undervalued. However, earnings growth is negative for the last 3 quarters as well as for the last 3 years. Revenue growth is also negative for last 3 quarters and last 3 years. In Q technique, either we are looking for a strength weakness in terms of valuation or strength weakness in terms of earnings growth. Here I find weakness in terms of earnings growth that allows me to short the trade. What about its industry? I could click the cog icon to check out the stocks industry, education services. That will take me to Q Edge, and instantly I can see the education services industry was stronger earlier, and here the scores are colored using relative strength relative to all the other industries. The color coding instantly shows it was stronger earlier and today it is weakening. The pace column is showing it is decelerating as well. That completes the 360 degrees analysis on this stock. Fundamentally it is telling that I can short it because earnings growth, revenue growth also is negative. Industry is showing it is weakening and decelerating, and technically it is giving a possible trend following short trend. That's how you can start with scans, this compound scans. Just run this single. If you are just looking for buy setups, just run the long one. If you are okay to short, you can run both of them. Look at them through Q Trade Finder, and you noticed how I focused on APEI. I looked for the stocks that are going down from the summary tab first, focused on the reversal candles, looked at the stocks that are giving reversal signals, and then first focused on the stock that is giving not only reversal signal here but additional orange color signals, meaning those are bearish signals today, and this stock had total 4 bearish signals today shown by this column, total 4. So that's how I can quickly identify trades technically. Then what did I do? I looked at the fundamentals that is integrated with QTrade Finder and finally looked at the industry. That is a bottom-up analysis, starting from technical scans and then looking at fundamentals, then looking at industries. Using top-down analysis also, I could look for trades. Let's start with the sector level. Here I can look all the sectors that are rotating across different periods of time, the 12 months and more frequently 10 days, 5 days, 2 days, 1 day, and today is in real time. 0 day means in real time. Which sector is strongest today is easy to see, energy. Let me drill down into the energy industries, and all the energy sector industries are strong today. You can see beautifully the color is changing from magenta to cyan. Therefore, I could start to look for long opportunities. Let me share one of the recent trade ideas from my traders forum, sagarnandi.com. That was on an energy stock. You can see the different categories under which I post topics. To see the category where I share trade setups, you may log in first. If you have not registered, you need to register with a valid email ID. You will receive a validation email. Once you validate the email, you will be able to log in. I have already validated, therefore I can log in. And you will see once I log in, I will see this new category, Q360 degree stock analysis. I will go through the last trade setup that I shared. This was the topic I shared 2 days ago. Let me scroll to the top. 2 days ago on 31st March, I shared it as a real-time top-down analysis using Q systems. The same approach that I was going to follow today, starting from Q edge. On that day, using real-time systems, I analyzed and shared this insight on 31st March as of 10:50 a.m. in the morning session. That day also, energy was the best performing sector. See how the energy was strengthening. Today there is some news that maybe Russia and Saudi Arabia will collaborate to increase the price. Not confirmed, but that news is there. But see, 2 days earlier itself, the Q edge indicated that energy is strengthening. Compare this snapshot of 2 days ago with the real-time QH snapshot today. Go back to the sector. See how the energy sector has changed. Earlier it was magenta, then 2 days ago it tried to turn cyan, weakened, and today strengthened again. Keep this pattern in mind and check out how I shared it earlier. That was the first day 2 days ago when it strengthened rapidly, and using the real-time sector rotation I could catch it on the first day when it started to strengthen. Before that it was the worst performing sector for a very long time. When I saw that, and I saw that in the morning session itself, I drilled down into the industries. And on that day also you can see once again I could catch the very first day the energy industries became strong. One of them was oil and gas exploration and production. I drilled down into the stocks and I found Devon Energy as one more interesting stock among all the stocks in oil and gas exploration production. Why? This was one of the only two stocks in the industry that had great valuation, undervalued stock shown by cyan color, and also positive earnings growth in the latest quarter. Therefore, I wanted to look at its technical charts. This is how it looked at that time 2 days ago in the morning session. The weekly at that time itself displayed a bull release signal and not bull release, bullish pressure and bullish pressure U-turn, and the backdrop candle color changed from magenta earlier to neutral yellow. In the daily it had displayed number of stretch release signals, bull release, and on that day it was starting to go up. There was no trade set up, but it was starting to go up from a very low price level, price extreme low, and that was expected because the sector was also weak for a long time. The industry was also weak for a long time. It was only expected that this stock would also be weak for a long time, and it was starting to go up right when the sector and the industry was starting to go up. I could find this stock on the very first day the industry and sector strengthened. Let's look at the stock today. This was what I shared 2 days ago. Let's look at Devon Energy today, DVN, and the technique I used to identify this stock 2 days ago was using the top-down analysis. Today the stock went up significantly in the beginning, but you can see it is pulling back. Therefore, if I'm using weekly, daily at a glance template, and if today's candle remains like this, then I don't have any long trade setup. But if price closed near the high of this candle, that would signal a bullish daily chart. The weekly we have to see if the color changes to cyan, and if color changes to cyan, daily closes near today's high, then it may give a go with flow long trade setup. And we could combine this price reversal from the memory support also with some other indication like the weekly thrust. It was at extreme low, at which point we can expect a reversal. And daily also was an extreme, and it is starting to improve both for thrust, jump, and in fact for the OBV also. So DVN was looking good, but there was no trade setup. Today it looked good again, but there is no trade setup yet because the price pulled back. I can see that from the upper tail. If price can go up close near the high of today's candle, then we may check again for a possible trend following long trade setup. That is how you could start with technical analysis, go to fundamentals analysis, and then finally look at the industry sector, or start with sectors first, go to industries, go to stocks fundamentals, and finally look at the technical charts. Whatever approach you follow, top down, bottom up, or sometimes based on insights that are available in QH in the insight tab, best performing stocks and worst performing stocks under intelligent categories based on fundamental analysis. This is another technique to find trades easily. So you can use either top down, bottom up, or inside based analysis. Whatever approach you use in Q technique, you will always end up combining the forces from sector industry level, fundamental level, as well as technical level. Let's see if the futures are changing. Let's look at the SPY ETF. The daily is still remaining in red color, that is bearish. However, there is no trade setup yet. So I am continuing with my outlook that I shared in the last market roundup, that I am going to look for short trades, but there is no short setup yet, and it is no time to take long trade because the daily has now changed to red. No time to take long trades. Let me end today's session here. Thank you for joining. I look forward to seeing you again in my next session. Have a great day, have a great week, and trade profitably.